Jim Jackson, 14 years in the NBA. We got some stuff to wrap up here in basketball because there are still some KD trade rumors. First of all, as of right now, the Kyrie I want out of here, KD I want out of here experiment has not been great. What do you make of the whole thing when you look at it today? Because it looks like Kyrie's coming back, and there's not much of a market for KD.
Hey, Colin, first of all, it's good to see you, talk to you. And I'm going to go back to your comfort thing. You're very comfortable over in Brentwood. You look like you made the transition over to L.A. really good. Start smoking cigars and stuff like that. I love it. Here's the thing about it. It's the Brooklyn Nets went in. And because of the power of KD, by bringing in DeAndre Jordan, by also bringing in Kyrie Irving, James Harden came into the fold, so they kind of bended a little bit to the needs of Kevin Durant, which a lot of organizations do. They went all in. The issue is that I think COVID had a lot to do with it. I can't fault Kyrie from the perspective of being selfish by what he wants to put in his body. I hear the argument all the time about Kyrie was selfish. Well, I don't think when it comes to health and what you put in your body that you can be too selfish. I think if it was something off the court because of Kyrie's past history with missing games because of political stances or personal issues, that's one thing you can judge him on. Brooklyn is in a precarious situation where they thought the trade market was going to be a lot higher for KD because KD is on the back end of his career. And if you're going to trade for KD, you're going to give up valuable assets, hoping, the key word, hoping that KD can fill out the remainder of his contract. Okay? And if that's not the case, now you decimate your complete roster, especially with young talent and draft picks for a player that after a year or two may be discontent for whatever reason, and now you're stuck holding the bag.
I was thinking about this the other day. Like I'm kind of over talking about Westbrook, but he is a story because every day there's something either leaked or out there about Westbrook. And it's the same with KD. KD, they call it going dark when you just get off social media. And I tried to simplify it the other day. I think KD is smart enough to know, listen, I probably shouldn't have left Golden State. I'm trapped in this lease for 4 years. How do I get out of this apartment? And I think it's as simple as that. Like, he knows he made a mistake. He's too smart to know. Like, Nash isn't Kerr the coach. They don't have the depth. They don't have the owner. They don't have the culture. I think, we all do this. We make mistakes in life. We leave a relationship, and then we look a year later, and we're like, grass isn't greener. That happens I've done that in my life. You've done that. The difference is Kevin Durant left. He's like the face of the NBA, right? So like everybody talks about it. We've all left relationships or businesses too early. We get into our feelings or there's an ego. Whatever reason, we've all done it. The difference is when KD does it, it gets talked about on TV shows because he's a public figure, not only a public figure, but a star. He's like, if he was a politician, he'd be running for president. You're in the conversation on talk radio all day. And so I think a lot of going dark is just like, I made a mistake. I'm in a bad lease. I want to dissolve assets. I want to go play for good teams. But the market is simultaneously, and maybe it's not all of his fault, but the Simmons stuff and the Harden stuff and the Westbrook stuff and the Kyrie stuff. And I think he kind of gets bunched into that as a difficult guy. And I don't think Kevin's necessarily difficult. I think he's a little bit, as somebody has told me that knows him, he's a little bit of a wanderer, never truly satisfied. But he's sort of getting bunched in with, like, Kyrie is impossible to coach. Kevin Durant's not impossible to coach. He's difficult to coach. He's getting lumped in with Simmons. KD plays all the time. KD loves to play both ends of the floor. He's getting lumped in with Westbrook. Westbrook's game has diminished. Kevin Durant's still one of the best get-a-bucket guys in the world. But he's getting kind of bunched in. James Harden. Well, he's not James Harden. James Harden has eroded badly. And Jim Jackson, I'll bring you back on this. I said, it's sometimes you get bunched in with people. And I think KD's sort of getting bunched in with the Westbrook, Kyrie, Simmons, Harden group that he's difficult or eroding. I don't think he's really eroding. I think he's harder to coach than some guys. I still think he's remarkable, but it is a little shocking. The market's not real dynamic for him, right? You're a little surprised by that.
Well, but here's the issue, Colin. Are you willing to give up, let's say Toronto, assets with Scotty Barnes and a lot of young players, and some draft picks for your future when you know that probably you can't really compete for a title right now, okay? Knowing that KD may become discontent and leave. See, here's the difference. When KD went to Golden State, he was a free agent. So Golden State didn't have to give up assets for him.
Right.
So when he left, guess what?
That's right.
Your core team was in place.
Yes, right.
So that's the difference. Now he's 34 years old. At the end of his contract, he's going to be 38. He's been injured the last few years. He hasn't played a complete season. So as an ownership, you're looking at this and saying, okay, am I willing to sacrifice my future 5 to 10 years of deep runs, knowing that if we make this trade today, do we have the roster component to win a championship? Now, it's different if you're a Miami Heat team, okay? A Miami Heat team, if they can keep Bam Adebayo and somehow finagle a way where they can compete for a title today, I think it's worth it because you can win it now. But if you're a team that is younger, that has valuable assets and draft picks that sometimes pan out, sometimes they don't, but your core group, your young group can compete for the next 5 to 8 years, that's when you really have to sit back and say, is it worth it in the short term, despite how great Kevin Durant is? I'm not for sure that he'll be completely happy a year from now. And that jeopardizes what we do as a franchise.
That's right.
I think that's where the marketplace.
Yeah, so you give up draft picks, you give up your bench, you give up chemistry, and he may not be happy in a year anyway. And I think and
you may not be competing for a title anyway once you do that.
That's right.
Your roster.
Yep. No. So that part So let me throw this at you.
Okay.
Is that I can like a player, but the market's screwy now. I saw a trade scenario about 2 days ago on the internet. It was Sunday night.
Uh-huh.
And Danny Ainge wanted 6 picks and 5 players or something like that for Donovan Mitchell. I'm like, I like Donovan Mitchell. Timeout. I'll give you R.J. Barrett and a couple picks or something. Apparently the Jazz don't. That's not the guy they want. So
right.
I look at the Knicks, and I understand in L.A., New York, and Chicago, when you have multiple pro sports franchises, sometimes you just don't want to be irrelevant, right? You want to, yeah. But I like Donovan Mitchell, but they have Jalen Brunson. I don't think it's a good basketball fit. They've got a smaller guy that doesn't defend and needs the ball. Like, I look at the whole thing and I think, forget the trade package that made the rounds. I don't think Donovan Mitchell is what the Knicks need. Is it?
Well, I think maybe if you did it before Jalen Brunson, because they need a shock in some aspect, because it is New York, okay? But does Donovan Mitchell as a number one get you to where you need to be in the Eastern Conference is the question. And that's the thing. And that's not knocking anything Donovan Mitchell does. I mean, he averaged 25 points a game. I mean, so he's been over 20 points since he's came in the league. Dynamic player. But when you're talking about winning and winning big, and you're talking about making a trade like this, are you securely confident to say that Donovan Mitchell is the player that we can count on to put our team on his back and take us to at least an Eastern Conference Finals to get to a championship? That's ultimately the question, Colin, because the draft picks, think about this. I think Malcolm Brogdon got 3 to 4 first-round draft picks or whatever it was with Boston. Rudy Gobert blew it out the water with what he got from Minnesota. So you think the trade value is going to be a lot higher with Donovan Mitchell and assets you can get back. Again, now you're decimating a young roster from New York that has potential for a player. Again, you put yourself in a situation, Colin. Does this move, by moving Emmanuel Quigley or Obi Toppin or R.J. Barrett, does this really get you over the top and crack you into the top 2 or 3 in the East? And my answer is no. Because, again, you don't have the roster to support a Donovan Mitchell, a team option. You don't have that. So you're stuck in the same situation with a player that's dynamic. Don't get me wrong. I love watching Donovan play. But in today's world, you're talking about making a deal that's going to catapult you to ultimately compete. And I'm talking about really compete for a championship. And I don't know if that does that.
Yeah. All right, Jim Jackson, are you playing golf this weekend?
I played yesterday, brother.
Okay. Well, I knew you did.
Well, I participated yesterday. How about that?
Staying active. Good seeing you.
All right, you too, bro.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.